Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. We're jumping right into an absolutely awe-inspiring and honestly pretty tragic story straight from Islamic texts. We're going all the way back to humanity's earliest days to look at the very first human life on Earth and the deeply compelling history of Cabil and Habil.
So, think about this for a second. How did humanity survive its very first day on Earth? And when exactly did our greatest internal threat actually emerge? It's a massive question of pure survival. We're starting at the literal dawn of civilization here, but as we unpack this history, you're going to see how this grand epic of survival zeroes right in on a devastating, highly intimate tragedy that changes absolutely everything.
To really grasp the gravity of this, we start with this profound verse from the Quran, Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 36. Now, I want you to truly imagine the absolute shock of this descent. Adam and Eve are transitioning from the boundless ease and sheer vastness of the heavens straight down into the isolation, the dust, and the total unknown of a completely alien world. It was the start of an entirely new, incredibly long test for humanity.
And the sensory contrast here is just stark. Drawing from Surah Ta-Ha, verses 117 through 119, we see this absolute shift. In heaven there was no hunger, no nakedness, no thirst, no burning sun. It was literally perfect. But Earth? Earth demanded intense physical labor. There were extreme weather conditions. For the very first time, Adam and Eve faced this immense physical and emotional shock, realizing the sheer, grinding effort that was now required literally just to survive.
But right here is where the story pivots. Reading from verse 37 of Al-Baqarah, we see that when faced with this monumental mistake and the harshness of their new reality, Adam didn't just throw his hands up in despair. Instead, he felt an immediate, crushing remorse, and in response to that sincere humility, Allah actually taught him the exact words he needed to seek forgiveness.
Which brings us to a real game-changer of a concept, true repentance. This divine acceptance of Adam's repentance was actually humanity's very first major victory on Earth. It pulled them right back from the brink of hopelessness. And more than that, it established the foundational moral framework for all future generations. It tells us that, yeah, mistakes are absolutely going to happen, but sincere repentance, that is always the pathway back to the light.
And here's the thing, humanity wasn't just left completely defenseless to figure out this harsh new world on their own. According to sources like Tafsir Ibn Kathir and Sahih Muslim, Allah divinely equipped Adam with the practical skills he needed to tame the earth. He was taught agricultural techniques, how to sow seeds for food, how to utilize iron, and how to forge and use tools. This wasn't just basic survival. We're talking about the divine foundation of human civilization itself.
Now our narrative shifts gears. We're moving from the macro-level survival of Adam and Eve to the deeply personal dynamics of a brand new generation. Time passes, the human family grows, and as mentioned in Surah Al-Ma'idah, distinct paths begin to emerge among their children.
And that brings us to two brothers, Habil and Cabil. Habil was a really dedicated shepherd raising livestock, while his brother Cabil was a farmer cultivating crops. Both of them were working the earth, utilizing those exact foundational skills of civilization we just talked about. And this sets the perfect stage for a huge pivotal test when both of them are commanded to present an offering to Allah.
Well, when they actually make their offerings, their differing intentions become glaringly obvious. Habil? He chose the absolute best, fattest animal from his entire flock. He really offered his finest. But Cabil kinda just scraped the bottom of the barrel, presenting the inferior, worst part of his harvest. It is an incredibly stark contrast in how much reverence they had for the divine command.
And the response was immediate and unmistakable. According to the text, there was this visually striking climax where a heavenly sign, literally a fire from the sky, descends to consume and accept only Habil's sacrifice. Divine acceptance was made completely literal and visible. And right in that exact moment, seeing his brother's offering accepted while his was rejected, a terrifying spark of envy instantaneously ignited in Cabil's heart.
1. Just 1. That number carries some chilling gravity because what happens next is just horrific. Blinded completely by this raging fire of jealousy and anger, Cabil strikes down his sleeping brother. In that single moment, the very first murder in all of human history is committed.
The aftermath of this act is deeply unsettling. Imagine Cabil standing over his brother's lifeless body on this vast, isolated earth. The horrific reality of what he had just done washes over him, but on top of that, He's completely paralyzed by ignorance. He has absolutely no idea what to do with the physical consequences of his crime. Nobody had ever died like this before.
And this is where we find one of the most fascinating events in the text. To teach the world's very first murderer what to do, Allah doesn't send an angel, He sends a simple bird. A crow arrives at the scene, it digs into the earth, it buries a deceased crow, and it covers the body with soil. It's a profound, mechanical, and frankly, deeply humiliating demonstration of burial delivered by nature itself.
Watching this simple bird, the utter weight of his own incompetence and his massive sin finally crushes Cabil. As recorded in Surah Al-Ma'idah, he laments with this agonizing defeat, saying, "Woe to me, am I unable to be like this crow and hide the dead body of my brother?" Notice here, it wasn't necessarily a true repentance of the heart, but rather a bitter, agonizing regret over his own failure and total disgrace.
Which brings us to a brilliant thematic parallel in the source material. We have a father and a son, both falling into error. But Adam's mistake was met with immediate humility and true repentance, which ultimately elevated his status. Cabil's crime, on the other hand, was born of envy, and it ended in bitter shame rather than sincere repentance, leading to his ultimate spiritual fall. Two drastic mistakes, but their drastically different reactions completely determine their destinies.
So, before we wrap up, let's review the eternal takeaways from humanity's dawn. These ancient events aren't just history, guys. They're a continuous mirror reflecting our own daily struggles. We learn that envy and unchecked ego truly are our greatest internal threats. We see that true success requires maintaining the straight path, even when things get incredibly hard. We recognize that hard work and civilization are divinely guided. And above all else, we learn that sincere repentance is the ultimate safety net for our human frailty.
I want to leave you with a final, lingering question to deeply reflect on today. When you face setbacks in your own life, or when you see the success of others around you, how do you manage your own ego? Do you react with the humble repentance and self-reflection of Adam, or do you allow the destructive envy of Cabil to take root? Think about that. Thank you so much for exploring these powerful lessons with me today. Keep reflecting, keep learning, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.